Welcome back to another edition to Root to Rising podcast. I'm your host, Christine Hummel. Today on Root to Rising, I'm joined by someone who has been part of my story for a long time, Robert Ray. Robert and I go way back. They attended high school together, which makes this conversation even more meaningful. It's not often you get to sit down years later and reflect on life, careers, and perspectives and how everything's evolved, especially when those paths have taken such impactful directions. Today, Robert is a national and international correspondent with Fox Weather, reporting on some of the most significant weather events across this country and internationally. His role demands clarity, resilience, and the ability to show up and respond in high-pressure moments. But what I'm most excited to talk about outside of Robert's career journey is that he is a father of 4 daughters and how he shows up every day to provide them a completely different dimension on how to gain their confidence. In this episode, we're talking about the male perspective, our first ever male interview on Root to Rising, and raising future female leaders, the realities of journalism and media today, and the values and advice and the mindset that shape the next generation. Robert, I'm really excited for this conversation and welcome to Root to Rising.
Thank you, Christine. Appreciate it. Honored to be the first dude to make the entrance into your podcast. And by the way, congratulations on this endeavor, which is clearly needed in a time and a period where there's a lot of noise out there, and you have meaningful conversations going on, which, in my opinion, is a must because a lot of the world right now is just a lot of this and not a lot of substance at all. So
I
congrats to you.
appreciate that. No, I appreciate that. And this podcast was created, for people, it was mainly women, to hear stories and experiences for the younger graduating, college, high school females. But as the conversations have grown, and while you're on today, realizing that, more and more of everyone's listening, male and female, it doesn't matter. We all have the same challenges. It was important for me to start spreading out and broadening my horizons of who I interviewed. And I thought Robert would be a great male interview for 2 reasons. Robert was a journalism major. He's obviously in journalism today. And he is also a father of four females. So we're going to hear a little bit about his professional journey and then also about, his guidance that he gives his daughters as they continue to evolve. So before we get started, Robert, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself personally and professionally?
Sure. Well, thank you. All right. I grew up in the Chicago suburbs, as you did as well. Christine, you and I have known each other for a long, long time. I mean, like we're
Yep.
talking crazy, crazy amount of time. 40 plus years, I think, at this point.
Wait, that means we're old though. Wait, if you just said
No,
40.
we are not old. We are not old. That is, I just had a physical yesterday. I'm doing okay. So it's all mental. All right. So yeah, grew up in the Chicago suburbs, northwest suburbs. Spent part of my childhood actually before that in the New York suburbs, New York City suburbs. So I have this like odd mix of big city mentality, and that has really shaped who I am today. But yeah, I mean, grew up in a pretty traditional, family, 2 brothers, mom and dad. Dad who traveled a lot, worked a lot, mom who stayed home. So that's kind of like what I knew at the time. I went off to University of Nebraska, middle of the country, not really what you expect a Chicago kid to
Hmm.
necessarily do, but I did it, and it actually was one of the best things that I could have ever done that helped me become who I am, today. Studied journalism there, broadcast journalism, and stuck with my major, which is
Hmm.
not characteristic for anyone in today's society unless you're going into engineering or medicine, something really specific. So I stuck with it in an industry that's brutal, that really washes their hands of so many people. It's tough to stay in the world of television and journalism for as long as I've been in it. If I look at, when I graduated college, 96, 97, I started working in TV well before that while I was in college. So we're 30 plus years in the industry, been all over the planet, everything from, the war in Iraq, Afghanistan, issues in Pakistan, you name it, Indonesia, Europe, any hotspot that you can think of, I've likely been to, whether it be a hostile environment or a natural disaster. And that is really what I'm focusing on now in my career is natural disasters. I've been with Fox Weather for 5 years since the inception. of Fox Weather, and I go pretty much all over the country, all 50 states. And then when international situations pop up, I'm there as well. Overall, look, the industry that I'm in is a confusing one. It's an industry that's falling apart as we speak right now. Layoffs are abundant across all the networks, all the wire services, whether it be CBS, ABC, NBC, CNN, Associated Press, you name it. Budget cuts are incredible, not only in the US, but the world. The BBC, British Broadcasting Company, just laid off a bunch of people yesterday. So I am beyond humbled to still be in the industry. And it takes a bit to stay in this biz, maneuvering and evolving and making sure that your talent is up to the technology, and also making sure that you understand, how everything is rolling. So yeah, I'm that guy. If you ever watch, I don't know, YouTube or perhaps even Fox, and your hurricane's going on, I'm
Yep.
the guy who's standing there just almost about to fall over, and sometimes actually falling over. And it's not for show. It really is not. It's actually because first responders and elected officials are not going to be out there during that. And they need the information to understand the severity or catastrophic aftermath of what is happening in real time, so that they can jump when the storms relinquish, and then I can help them as well. So a lot of complicated things, and we can talk more about all
Yep.
that. Anyway, in a nutshell, yeah, I'm a bit of a hooligan, always have been. Doing the right thing with my career. If I wasn't doing this, I should probably be some sort of secretive law enforcement, but I wasn't smart enough to go down that route. So anyway,
I love it. I love it. And yeah, I mean, if you haven't seen some of Robert's journalism reporting, I mean, the questions you ask when you're on the ground too, it's not just putting yourself in those situations, but when you're talking to the people, you have very intentional questions. And I definitely got hooked in and started watching and following you. So thanks for doing that and putting yourself in those situations, but then the more importantly, getting the people the right information that they need to hear.
yeah,
So
that's key.
yeah, it is key.
Thank
Someone's
you.
gotta do it, and someone's gotta continue to do it. So, we'll go back to that. But let's go back to you talked about Chicago and New York, so you kind of labeled yourself a city boy. But then you decide to go to University of Nebraska, which is not a city. It is cornfields. So
Right.
for the audience listening, right, a lot of them are thinking about different college decisions to make. Illinois to Nebraska, why did you do it? And why did you pick that school? And what made you be okay and feel confident that you could be that far away from home?
Yeah, I mean, okay, so you grow up in the Chicago area, and you're in the pseudo Midwest, even though you're insulated in this big city. A lot of the kids, Christine, that as you know, that we grew up with, a lot of kids went to Iowa. All right, that was a big destination.
Yep.
Some went to Wisconsin. You went to Eastern Illinois. The Nebraska situation for me was a little bit complex in the sense that, okay, so I always wanted to play baseball in college. But here's the problem with me playing baseball. I had all the talent in the world. I did not have the discipline in high
Mm,
school. Whether or not that was on me or whether that was the adults around me, whatever, up for discussion. Ultimately, it's on me as an individual, right? That I didn't make that happen. I could have went and played at couple smaller schools. Decided that wasn't really for me. And I visited smaller schools as well, like Loris College.
mhm, mhm.
And then I think I visited small school in Michigan. I forget the name of it, but just was not enticing to me. I wanted something big, grandiose in my head, big college
Yep.
football, all that. And Nebraska really, just fit that bill. I wanted to go to Iowa, but my parents were just beyond reluctant to send me there because of the crew that I hung out with in high school who were all going to Iowa. And they were like, nope, he's not going to make it. And they were right, by the way. Had I gone to Iowa City, I would think I
Yep.
would have returned within a year,
Yep.
and not successfully. So Nebraska was the destination. One state over 500 and something miles drive from the suburbs of Chicago. Really tough my first year. In fact, even though I joined a fraternity, made friends,
Yep.
it was really tough to be that far away. Having said that, that is a place that really kind of honed, the beginning of responsibility for me. and taking, responsibility for my actions and starting to live on my own and not being, part of the same crews that I ran with in high school, which was beyond important. So, as a matter of fact, my daughter, who's graduating in a couple weeks from high school, she is actually going into her freshman year at University of Nebraska next year.
Awesome.
Not because I forced her or anything, but she grew up, me taking her to
Yeah,
football games, and it's
awesome.
just one of those things. So, but yeah, a really great thing that I think I did, and my parents pushed me to go do. So, my best friends right now, still 30, 35 years later, all live in the state of Nebraska or around the country, and
Yep.
we went to school together. So that
Yep.
tells you anything. That's everything.
No, that's awesome. And you know, I have the same philosophy is you don't want to a lot of parents want to keep their kids close for college for whatever reason, they feel like they're quote unquote safer or they're living vicariously through them and for whatever reason and it's, those parents that really want their kids to be independent and there's going to be hard and it's okay to have hard and you want them to have hard because that's how you figure out the life lessons to your point. Like you had a hard year but that's where you kind of dug deep and you figured who you are and you made, solid foundation of friends. And, my suggestion is for those that are looking to take a leap to go further away, just do it. The worst thing is you can come back, right? But at least try it and don't talk yourself out of it before you do it. So I think it's awesome that your daughter's following in your footsteps too and going to Nebraska also.
Yeah, agree on everything you said.
When you talk to her about her college decisions, kind of going back and forth with being the parent now. Like, was your advice to, hey, do whatever you want? Or did you really push her to go, to do something different and further away? What was your guidance knowing what you had experienced?
I live in the Atlanta suburbs in Alpharetta, which is a northeastern suburb. And a lot of the kids here, they stay in the SEC, Southern schools. All right. This is where they
Yep,
all want to
that's
go.
fair.
And so like my oldest daughter's at University of Georgia right now. She's a freshman. And so Luca, who when she was starting to look at schools, in her head, like all throughout high school, she's like, I'm going to Nebraska. I love it. I love it. I'm like, you gotta understand something. You grew up in the South, and we're
Mhm.
talking about going 1,100 miles away to the
Yep,
center of the country, to the Great Plains. Are
yep,
you prepared for a culture shock as far as
yep.
society and weather shock as well?
Hmm.
And at the time too, she was looking at potentially swimming in college. She's a great swimmer, but decided, all right, I don't want to be a college athlete. So that ruled out some universities that we were originally potentially looking at. But the ability to get away for her is actually something that we've talked about. She is one of those kids that has had a good high school experience, but not the high school experience that my oldest daughter has had. My oldest daughter was just a social butterfly, athlete, had a yearbook, all this crazy stuff, loved high school, embraced it. Luca kind of is like sort of like, I need a new beginning. I've always
Hmm.
wanted a new beginning. So going that far away is something that I actually encourage to her so she can grow. And like I keep telling her, and to your point just a couple of minutes ago, it's not going to be easy. I mean, she is going to have roadblocks. She's going to have a time where she goes out to her dorm room, opens up the curtains, and goes, "Oh my God, there's 2 feet of snow, and there's 50-mile-an-hour winds, and there's a blizzard, Dad." And she calls me. She's like, "This is not Atlanta. Of course it's not, right?" And then you got to get out and walk to classes, and these are all hardships. But you know what? These are first world problems, right? That's what I keep telling her. It's like, the second you think that life is so bad,
Yep.
and this is the same thing I tell the young kids in the TV business, who are are in New York in the studios and stuff. I always say there's three words. I say, "Come on down."
Yep.
You want to see hard? Get on an airplane. Come with me.
Good for you.
We'll go look at people that are actually suffering, and then you'll have a perspective, because that's
Yep.
what it's all about, perspective.
Perspective. Yeah. No, that's awesome. So when you were in University of Nebraska, you chose journalism. Did you know going into college that was your major? And then if so, why? Why did you choose journalism?
Yeah, I mean, I had an inkling, and a couple of things motivated me to do that. Number one, I'm one of those people that it would not be suited to walk into an office building and just sit there and go from meeting to meeting and be fulfilled. It just wouldn't, it's never been my thing. Adventure and being around people and danger for that matter is just kind of the way I roll.
Mhm.
So I had this feeling that, okay, I want to go into this. Having said that, I quickly learned from professors and people that were telling me at school, like, hey, not a lot of people get to go do what you're describing that you want to go do.
Mm.
A lot of people are stuck in local TV newsrooms and they're like, covering car crashes and potholes. So that's was something to me that I was like, oh man, I do not want to do that. And by the way, I never did. So thankfully, but my dad really, I think, in a sense, forced my hand into journalism broadcasting. At some point after high school graduation, we were out to dinner, and his gift to me was a very large book, a Time Life book with photographs from, started dating back to World War II and to that period. And he's like, I think this is what you should try to do. And the cover of it was a Vietnamese person, like basically on their deathbed on the cover. And I'm like, what do you mean, Dad? You
Yeah.
want me to go take pictures of people dying? Like, because I'm a kid, I had no
Yeah.
idea what he
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
talking about.
18 years old. Right.
Yeah, and he's like, no, no, no. He's like, I think you should explore journalism. I think you would be good at this.
Hmm.
And so, I was like, okay, all right, well, I guess that's what I'm going to go do. And actually, the photography side, the visual side, is what I went into initially. And by the way, stayed until all the way until 2011, and then I made the transition to this side of the camera. But it never dawned on me to go on this side of the camera until I began to work with many different reporters, and I saw these reporters out there in really intense situations, and I'm like, God, do they suck? Like, why are they not asking? Why are they
I
not
have better
asking?
questions to ask. I'm going to
Well,
go do it.
well, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, like I'm, standing in like Iraq or something, and I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Why is this person acting like a robot
Good for you.
to these people that were supposed to be, you know, being empathetic and getting
Yep.
information? And then I decided, you know what? I gotta do something a little different in the business. And so what I decided to do at that point was become a hybrid, which is not common. And it's in a sense, I kind of pioneered the hybrid role, which is, yes, I'm a correspondent, but I shoot, edit, write everything I
Okay.
do except for live reports. So if I'm in a crazy situation in a live report, I've got a photographer. If you just see storytelling from me where there's writing in my voice, that is all from moi.
Okay.
And that way I have a sense of, and I hate to use the word control, but it's true because if you hand off content to others, they don't know your vision.
Mhm.
So, in a sense, you have to walk with the pole and be like, this is what I want. And if you want to come around, come along on this team, let me show you, and then we can,
Yep.
become better together. But so it's been a heck of a journey, an evolution, and I'm not even close to being done yet.
I love
I
it.
mean, yeah, it's just there's just so much to do. Even though the industry is in shambles right now, this is the beginning of a new industry. And I always tell a lot of the young kids who are very nervous about whether they're going to stay in the industry or not. I always say, look, the dot coms in the late 90s, when Google and Yahoo and everybody was inventing themselves, nobody knew exactly where that was going at the time. They knew that something big was happening, but what was it? Didn't really come into fruition for another decade, maybe even a little bit more than that. That's where we're at in media right now,
Got it.
modern media. It's reinventing itself. And, those that have the creative minds and the technical minds and the prowess to understand, return on investment and the business side of it, they're all going to succeed. If not, then, like anybody else, if you can't make the latest hamburger, you're just not going to win. You're not going to win the war.
So why is the industry in shambles? Is it because the way people are wanting to receive the instant news, the social media, the different ways we're communicating, and now this kind of journalism reporting needs to kind of evolve and revise itself to make kind of respond to the way that people need to have what I say because they're just used to instant gratification. So is that the reason that it's changing?
That is a huge part, huge part. So within what you just said, yeah, you have a different way of consumption. We grew up with our mom and dad, or mom, if you didn't have mom and dad, mom or dad, whatever, looking at a TV.
Yep.
Okay, and
Yep.
there's Dan Rather, Peter Jennings, Tom Brokaw, and we would catch glimpses of that as far as news. Well, that doesn't exist anymore. I mean, it does exist fundamentally. You can get that, but kids these days, Gen Z, and even what's the generation before Gen Z? I don't even know anymore. Is it a-
Not millennials.
no?
I don't know the I don't know the letters. I'm not a fan of those labels,
I
by the
know.
way.
Yeah, yeah. Well, exactly. Okay, so ages, let's say ages 14 to 35. Okay, they're consuming on the phone or a tablet or social media, and so the industry as a whole has not really kept up with how fast all of
Mm,
that has evolved.
got it.
On top of that, you've got a lot of corporations. Media, big media just, if people don't know this, is run by corporate America.
Yep.
Okay, and there are a lot of mergers, acquisitions, buyouts, and then because of that, layoffs, restructuring, reorganization. So, for example, like Disney, who owns ABC, they're laying off like 1,000 people this week. I mean, that's a
That's
massive amount.
crazy.
CBS News a month and a half ago laid off, I believe, 12% of their workforce. CNN, same thing. Like anybody you look at, the Washington Post is essentially a shell
Hmm.
of itself. And then Fox, who I work for, we're on stable ground. Thankfully, it's a again positive thing for a guy like me, but I understand how fragile it can be. So yeah, we're in an evolution right now because of how we consume and what's ahead. Like what is going to be ahead beyond TikTok or X or Instagram. But I can tell you, as I mean, you have kids. I mean, these younger kids,
Mm,
they are only consuming news via their cell phone, and usually on TikTok, because that's just the way it goes. So storytelling has to be refined. And by the way, storytelling in that amount of time, when you want to get all the information out and the visuals, is a super challenge, big
yep.
time challenge. So it's really pushing the envelope. But what's ahead? I don't know. Again, like the dot com in the late '90s, we just
Yep.
don't know right now.
How do you know, like TikTok, I struggle sometimes. I don't know what's true and what's not. So, as a reporter, like when my kids see something or I send them something, they're like, Mom, that's AI. That's not even real. Right. So some people can pick that up in a second, some people can't. So as a reporter in
Yeah.
a journalism, like how do you differentiate and how do you make yourself relevant to say this is real? This is what's live, what's happening now versus someone that sat there and with AI and created a fake story.
Yeah. Yeah, that is something the industry is struggling with right now. I mean, like our editors in New York City are constantly going through content, especially on big breaking news stories,
It's crazy.
and trying to decipher whether or not something is real or not. For example, like let's say a tornado hits in the middle of the country, and video is being spread all over social media, and our editors get wind of it, and they're like, "Holy cow! Look at this tornado come down, and look at what the damage. But is it actually real or not?" And that's the big question. So then there'll be a lot of eyeballs on it that'll literally stand around a desk and be like,
Wow.
no, that's not real. And then for me, so I had a conversation with some executives in New York, I think right after Hurricane Melissa in Jamaica. And I was talking about because there were some social media things going on, like people being like, "That's not real. What Robert's in right now is not real. That's AI." And I was like, "God, okay. Do I respond to this or do I just let it be?" And the consensus with the executives was, if we start responding to that, then we're just throwing
Yep.
basically embers on the fire. So don't respond. Like let's just ignore that. We know it's not really real. And then I said, "What if I'm live next time on a huge story and something looks so surreal around me that, do I say verbally, look, this is not AI, this is ground truth. This is why we're out here field reporting." And then the discussion was, maybe that's a good idea, but maybe it's not, because then again, then we're bringing up AI and then we're stoking the fire a little bit.
Yep.
So we're kind of teetering on how we all play
Yep.
with that as well. Now, Granted, I mean, AI like ChatGPT and stuff, I mean, for research reasons, what a beautiful tool. I
Hmm.
mean, you can find things out and you can really go into, rabbit holes and become really well informed. But visually, yeah, it's a scary scenario. And
Yep.
Hollywood's going through that too right now.
Yep.
I mean, oh my God. I mean, those people, I mean, some people might say, time's up, Hollywood. Okay, you guys have made enough money all these years. Maybe. But on the other hand, it does take away from some of the creative ability of artists in Hollywood. And unfortunately, too, my last thing on this AI is that we're starting to see some pseudo news shows be done by clones. And that's happening over in Europe right now. And you're starting to see some people in the US experiment with that, like anchors that are not real. That's a
What's
tough
the?
one.
I don't get it. What's the point? I don't get it. I'm
Money.
hope saving money. Yeah, I guess. I don't know. Personally, I feel like we'll go down this AI rabbit hole. Yes, I think there is value to be more efficient and smarter, but you're going to still need humans at some point, right? There will be kind of a backlash that happens. I don't know if it happens in our lifetime. I'm hopeful, but 5, 10 years from now, we flip again and be like, oh crap, what happened to the human connection? What happened to the story? What happened to the real conversations, the questions? Because you know this. I mean, you do it in the field. You do it every day on your job. There's nothing like you having a connecting conversation with someone. Like one of your interviews you had in Jamaica when you were asking them, how they were doing. It was such a simple question that you asked them, but at that time, how they responded and what they were going through was so impactful. So
Yeah.
maybe what you can't replace is like that human conversation, that connection. I'm hopeful that it flips and people will be missing it so much, right, with being so digital and so AI driven that we come back at some point and we flip the script again. And you have to create those human connections to continue to evolve as humans overall.
Yeah, I mean, that's spot on. I mean, look, I mean, your phone is not gonna give you, love, warmth,
Yep.
and peace. It's just not. You could sit there all day long on your phone and laugh at reels and, get information all you want, but at the end of the day, you're really not going to
Yep.
learn how to be a person
Yep.
by, sitting there with your phone. And by the way, video games as well. Whatever. I mean, I
Yep.
know a lot of kids play video
Yep.
games. I
I
get
agree.
it. Whatever. It's entertaining. But on the other hand, man, you got to get out and just diversify your brain. You
Agreed.
have to. Have to.
Yeah, one thing that scares me, I think AI works for our age because we've already done the critical thinking, the learning, the education, right? So it's coming at a time where we can blend the two. What's scary is the kids, let's say high school or college, that they're just using AI to get the answers. And what happens to that critical thinking ability? Like you can get the answers, but do you know how or why? And so what happens when they are actually, in a job or 10 years from now? Do they know how to critically think? Do they know how to make a decision? You have the information, but does your brain know how to like even communicate or do anything with it, right? So it'll be interesting and fascinating to see what happens.
Oh, totally. I mean, just think about the astronauts and the
Yeah.
team of on Artemis 2. I mean, I'll give one example that just kind of made me think. So the toilet on Artemis 2 broke almost immediately as they entered lower orbit. And one of the astronauts, had to be the space plumber, as she called herself.
Yep.
And there's pictures of her like going through a pamphlet and
Yeah.
and using her hands and trying to figure this out. Like that's like
Yeah.
real world critical
Yeah.
stuff where you can't just go on your phone and go, fix the toilet on Artemis 2.
Uh-huh.
AI,
Yeah.
ChatGPT. God, no. No, no, no,
Right.
no. So it's everything in life is about being hands-on. AI is a tool. That's the way people I think really should look at it as. It's just a
Agreed.
tool. It's like a
Agreed.
hammer
Agreed.
or a anything.
Could make things easier, faster sometimes, but you still need your brain to be able to use it. Can I ask your opinion on the Artemis reporting coverage that
Yeah.
happened? What did you think about how they portrayed them and how they interviewed them, and what did you think about the overall coverage?
Uh,
And you don't have to
well,
you don't have to answer it if you don't want to.
yeah, no, no. So I had so all right, I could just tell you from this experience. So I covered the final Space Shuttle Atlantis launch and landing in 2011. And I'd
Okay.
covered multiple space shuttle launches, landings before that. And so I have a bit of a different perspective on the way NASA is covered. First of all, back then in 2011, the agencies, news agencies, had robust teams specifically covering NASA and aerospace. Okay. That's like there were reporters that was their only job.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they did. Now you don't have that because of massive budget constraints,
Got it.
budget cuts, and also the fact that NASA's taken with the retiring of the space shuttle a bit of a
Yep.
break. They're not as prevalent now. Well, now they are again, but so you have a lot of novices reporters out there trying to talk like they know what
Hmm.
they're like what they know what they're talking
Got
about,
it.
which is look, you really got to understand orbit and the moon and astronauts in order to get this correct. As far as the general public understanding the Artemis mission, I feel like media missed the boat.
I
And what I
agree.
mean by that is this. Do most people understand that when Artemis went up, they did 3 circles around the Earth just to kind of get their bearings right, to test some things, and then they shot off for the 3.5, 4 day trip around the moon and then came back. I don't think that we understood that. I think everybody just thought, boom, that rocket's up, it's headed to the moon. No, no, that wasn't the case at all. As far as the portrayal of the astronauts, look, these are dynamic personalities, these 4 people, which is cool. I usually don't historically see that kind of, interaction. So I like all of that, though I don't know. I feel like I'm missing something. I feel like, okay, so I was told by NASA, like we all were, that the astronauts were bringing up cell phones on the trip. Where's all the cell phone video and pictures? I want to see that, them shooting out the window, if there's stuff like
Yep.
that. I want to know more about what the experience was
This was like,
seeing
yep.
the Earth and the moon. I feel like
Yep.
I don't have that.
I agree. And I'm missing, to your point, like I'm missing the science. Like I felt like the science wasn't reported, like orbiting the Earth the 3 times before, they went. And it was a lot more about like what they I remember a picture of one of them holding like the shrimp cocktail. I don't give a shit what you're eating for dinner. Like I want to know what you're doing every day.
Yeah.
What is the science that we're learning from it? Why are we doing this? Like give people the data or the why. And then the interviews afterwards for me, again, you'll never know what they've experienced. So it was very emotional and they were very much a team, but tell me what you learned from a science perspective. I mean, you work for NASA, right? So we've chose you to be part of that. Tell us
Right.
the science behind it. For me, I missed the science. I felt like it was more personal than data science driven.
That's a really good point. I mean, especially considering the fact that in 2008 or 9 is when the goal is to actually land back
Mm-hmm.
on the moon.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a lot that goes into this, obviously, right? And
Yep.
another thing too would be, I mean, there's not a lot of discussion about this too, is that when they circled the moon, when they did that whip, they were actually 5,000 miles above the lunar surface when they did that. Think about it, 5,000 miles. That's very far. Why? NASA knows why
Yeah.
they did that, but but
Yeah.
but explain to us, to the general public,
Yep.
why you
Right.
were 5,000 miles on that
Exactly.
whip and not closer. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Make
There's
us
a
smarter.
lot.
Yeah. There was a lot there.
I wish they would take a reporter up there. Man, I'm telling you, that would be the
You'd be the
greatest.
first to sign up, right?
Oh, I totally would. I totally would. Oh my God. It'd be so great. What a
That's the
dream.
next idea. So to
Right.
wrap up the journalism part, and then we'll kind of pivot over to you being a father of four daughters. So today, anyone wanting to get into journalism at college or broadcasting, what advice would you give them? Do it, not do it, and if they do it, how do they do it?
Yeah. So my daughter at University of Georgia, who's a freshman, she is in the Grady School of Journalism. Okay. I initially advised her to potentially look at another career, but she was the editor of her high school yearbook. She's really just outgoing and sort of is a match for television. Now, having said that, will she succeed? Well, I don't know. I mean, I can give her all the guidance and the opportunity in the world, which I'm doing currently. But I will tell her, and I do tell her and any kid looking to go into the world of journalism or anything remotely close to it, you are going to go in with an ideological thought process, which is what I did. You have a skewed view of the way the world is. And this is the reality of it all. Politicians are not who you think they are. They can stand in front of a podium and tell you everything that you want to hear. And God, does it sound good, right? And your family's going to be better and society's going to be better. But 99% of them are lying through their teeth. Get that through your head. That's the number one thing. The number two thing I tell to all these kids, do not trust anything or anyone out there that gives you information. It is hearsay, likely. You need 3, 4 sources. Do not ever believe law enforcement when they tell you 20
Mm,
people are dead. Obviously, they're trying to do their best, but they've likely and usually been given the wrong information. Don't report anything until you have it concrete as a fact. You could say law enforcement officials tell us this, whether or not that's appropriate, whether or not that's true. Here it is. You need to be transparent if you're going into this industry. You need to also understand that everybody out there is not your friend.
mm.
Okay. Whether you're standing and next to them and working by side by them, you need to look out for yourself and you need to be very wary of who you trust out there. Essentially, if you're going into the business of reporting, there's several things that you have to do. You got to be an innovator. You've got to have a really strong head on your shoulders, like absolutely read in, be read in. You're a researcher, okay? You're a forensic scientist, essentially, on all levels of life. You have to understand everything that's going on in the world. If you think that you're going in to become famous, leave. I don't want you in the business. Other people don't want you in the business. All you're going to do is be that huge rock at the end of the boat that just makes us all go a lot
No,
slower and diminishes the value of what media should be, and that is information and facts. And that's been a problem in media of recent. There's a lot of people that have gone into it for the wrong reasons. And by the way, the general public has noticed. And that is why a lot of people don't trust
don't
media
trust me.
anymore. Yeah. So I recommend that kids explore going into the industry, but go into it for the right reasons. And I know that you want to change the world if you're going into it. I get it. I did too. But here's the thing. You can't change the world with one big brush. That does not happen. You know where it does happen? In the trenches, grinding and being out there and talking to people and maneuvering through the woods, those deep, dark woods. And by the way, it doesn't happen in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. It happens over decades. And whether or not you're going to last and be in it. And the other thing too is if you want to get rich, good luck. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. I mean, there's a way to make a lot of money in this business, but you really got to be the grinder and the fighter. Okay. You got to understand that you're on that offensive and defensive line and you're pushing up every day of your life and you cannot back down.
Mm.
Not back down. The last thing on all this, don't fear executives. They need you as much as you need them. But always remember that executives have a political game that they're playing internally within big corporations that you will never understand because your mind as a journalist is ideological. Theirs is not. Always remember that.
No, that's great advice. Probably applicable to a lot of other industries outside of just journalism. Do you think that you have told your daughter, who is in the same major you were, anything different because she's female? Or do you think your advice to her is general? Like, if you pretend you had a son, would your advice be any different to him going into journalism that you provided to your daughter?
I would say, and I have said this to my daughter, London, that there are a lot of sharks out there and they're males. And by the way, viewers. So this is actually an
Mm,
interesting point. Okay, so when I go out on assignment, okay, I don't get notes from females or comments like, hey, what are you doing later? Boy, what's that kind of stuff. Where my female colleagues do,
yeah,
they get harassed on social media by males.
yeah.
I mean, just sick dudes who are like freaks. And so I've told her about that, like you need to be aware of that. And by the way, you need to be aware of people in the industry, males, that perhaps are not going into this with the correct intention.
Nope.
And they may look at you like, oh, well, you know, 6 foot blonde. All she wants to do is be on TV and don't. make sure, that that's not the presence that you give. I mean, you want to, the presence that every female should have in this industry is, hey, you know what? The industry's run by females. You want to screw with me? Because that's the deal. The industry is run by females now.
Hmm.
My bosses are all females.
Wow.
And thank God, because I will tell you this right now. I mean, the my ability to have real conversations
Yeah.
with executives, those happen with female executives, and the ideas that they're open to are much more wide and much more reciprocated than male executives.
Why do you think
Male
that? Why do you think that?
I just think females as a whole are a lot more intuitive and are able to really sit down and have a conversation and then take things apart and go, okay, so I see where he's coming from or where she's coming from, and this is why this may work. And let's give this a whirl because it makes sense. Whereas with a lot of male executives, the problem is you come in there and me being an alpha, I walk in there, most of them are alphas, and
Alphas,
they're
yeah.
yeah, and they're like, "Oh, I'm not listening to Robert Ray right now.
Yeah.
This guy thinks he's smarter than me, and I'm not doing this shit."
Yeah.
And so that does happen, and it's bravado and all this stuff. At least with you know, I just find there's a more of a sensitivity to ideas and shared collective ideas with female executives, and I find them females
Yeah.
easier to talk to on the phone. Like I could pick up the phone to one of my bosses and be like, "Listen, I don't know about next week. Here's what my suggestion is." And she's like, "Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Let's sit on it for a couple hours, and then I'll call you back."
So
Just an
do you
easier,
think
yeah.
Do you think though you're an alpha, right? So do you think you walking into the room of all males that you're taking feedback and you're listening differently than the females because maybe you're not as threatened because you're alpha too. Like you just described the male executives, they're not going to take your ideas, but are you taking the ideas differently from the females that you did the males because you're less, it's not alpha to alpha, which I would argue females are alpha too, but like, is there a different way that you're listening to the executives because they're not male?
You know, that's a really good question and hard question. I would say it's circumstantial. It depends on the person.
Mm,
I mean, if I know that a person has a history of political meddling internally and within a company, that they're just out to cause
yeah.
problems, then I'm usually gonna do a mental nap on that
Yep.
person, meaning like I'm not listening to this person, whether it be female or male. Having said that, I find that there are more males, at least in my industry, that are political than there are females. I feel like overall females in the media industry want all of us to collectively be a successful team and work together for a common goal for everybody to thrive. I feel like males are not quite in that capacity. Like they're willing to cut you
Yep.
immediately. Like they'll go and try to fight you. But here's the problem in media. No one wants to fight you head on. Okay. You're never gonna see somebody like this, like, okay, let's go, brother. No, I mean, and I don't mean physically. I just
Yeah,
mean
yeah,
like,
yeah. One-on-one direct, yeah.
yeah, it's always just this bull
Behind,
behind the
yeah.
scenes. Yeah, where it's
Talking
just like,
behind your back, all the political bullshit. Yep.
oh, yeah, it's and to me, like, thank God, like, I do live in the trenches because, every time I'm in New York, I just find myself I mean, I love all my colleagues, but I just find myself being like, "Ah, get me back to the street. Get me back to the
Yeah.
street." Because the street's real. You know what I mean? I mean, the street is where everything happens. It's the last thing I'll say about all this. I was in, Baghdad in 2005, and I was in a Humvee, and I was in a ride along with 10th Mountain Division, and there was a high ranking official that we were driving with, and we stopped in this very uh, busy urban market in Baghdad. He's like, "All right, well, everybody, let's get out, let's walk." And I get out, and he gets out, and I'm pretty young at the time. I think in 2005 I was what just about to turn 31. So it's 30. I consider that a young man. So I get out, and the guy, high ranking official, pulls out a pack of cigarettes. He's like, "You smoke?" I'm like, "Mm, sometimes." So he's like, "All right, take the cigarette, light it." I'm like, "Okay." And we start walking through this very busy like market in Baghdad. And he's like, "Listen to me, son. I want you to puff that cigarette and walk down this market like you fucking own it." And I'm like, "Okay, okay. Like you've been here before." I'm like, "All right, I
Mm.
will. That's what I'm going to do." So we're like, and I'm like, and it's dangerous as hell walking down this market. And he's like, "You own it?" I'm like, "Yes, sir. I own it." And that was the protection blanket he wanted to put around me that he put around himself. And so my point in saying that is in all of these endeavors that we all go through, whatever you're choosing to do, whether you're an ER doctor or you're a
Yeah.
plumber or you're a landscape artist, whatever you do, make sure that you know what you're getting into and make sure you have that sort of mental security blanket going, no matter how tough it is.
Oh,
That's it.
that's a great story. Mic drop.
Yeah.
That's a great story. So from there, I mean, there's so much we could keep going, but I want to make sure we talk about how you've been raising your four daughters. You have a very obviously intense profession that every day, you're not every day, but when you're working, like you're in it. You're on the street, and then you transition back, you come home, right? And then you're a father of four females. So how do you transition back into that? Like I have a hard time, and I'm in the corporate office, right? Like just to transition my brain to be okay, transition from work Christine to mom Christine or whatever I am. So how do you go from that intensity of your profession to be a father and kind of a guide to your four daughters?
Yeah, to me, it's called the reentry
Mm.
process, and it has evolved over the years. To be honest with you, I used to be no good at it. I mean, when the girls, well, okay, just so everybody knows, so I have a soon to be like in the next month, 19-year-old, 18-year-old. I have a 14-year-old, and then we have an almost 4-year-old. Okay, so you know, do the math on that. Whatever, she's great. The 4-year-old's great. I mean, like life,
Keeps you
our life.
young, keeps you young.
Well, yeah, that's a crock of shit. And my wife and I, we always laugh about that. We're like, that is when people say that, we're like, you're so wrong. No, it doesn't keep
Yeah,
you young.
it's
But
exhausting, I bet.
it is, but it's great. So, okay, so when the girls were really little, the older girls, I was sort of midway through my or no, not even midway through my career, just kind of like so, in the beginning, I mean, I'd already been to wars, all that stuff, but it was difficult because I'll just give you, examples like Sandy Hook, where all those, kindergarten and first graders were shot and killed in
Yep.
Connecticut. I was front and center on that. You name it. All the shootings around the US before I was covering, weather, Boston bombing, God, everything these tragedies that I would go cover and then I have to come back home. Here's the thing. Life is going on as predicted and how normal things go on here. Okay. They see some of that. Like my wife sees what I'm doing, but she's not really focused on it because she has her own life with raising the kids and she's a middle school teacher. So as important as I see as all this is when
Yeah.
I re-enter, it really is not to them. And so you have to compartmentalize like, and this is first responders do this too, when they get home, it's like, oh, or ER doctors, I just saw the worst shit I've ever seen in my life. I need to talk to my family. Well, they don't really want to
They don't
hear
want to
that.
hear it.
And it's because it scares them.
Hmm.
And they don't have that same perspective. And maybe sometimes that can come out, but ultimately, that's not something that I try to burden them with anymore. I used to, and it was a mistake.
Mm.
It caused issues. It did. Like my wife at one point was like, I can't take this shit anymore. I can't listen to you. Can't listen to you talk about this stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I don't know who to talk to. She's like, go see a counselor. But a counselor's not going to know what the hell I'm talking about. I mean, they're not going to understand the fact that I just saw 25 kids brought out in body bags in the middle of the night in Connecticut or people in Boston with their arms severed because of two terrorists, stuff like that. So Yeah, there's a fine line with all that, but the girls, it's interesting. It'll be interesting to see what happens with them someday because they've grown up around all of this, meaning what I do, and then what their mom does as a school teacher. And they've said to me before, like, "Yeah, Dad, like it is. It's been a bit of a weird childhood with what you do."
Hmm?
And I can imagine, especially with the BS of being on TV and stuff like that. A lot of their friends and their parents see it and they're like and they're like, well, he's just my dad. Well, yeah, that ultimately that is my role.
Yeah.
Take away all, anybody's career, and the only thing that really matters is who you are to your family and friends, right? What's so interesting, Christine? I learned that my dad died in 2014. He was only 60, and it was he got sick, and then it was like 2 years later he was dead. Okay, really kind of fast, unexpected, and his funeral was huge. Okay, and it was full of work people and
Mm,
then family and friends. But what I realized at the end of that was this dude's legacy is not his career per se. Within his career, his legacy was who he was as a person.
mhm.
And that's really the only thing that counts. The analytics and everything else that go along with what we all do, to be successful. I mean, yeah, at the time it's important and we have to maintain all that. But at the end of the day, when everyone is, standing around a bar and going, well, he was a good guy or she was a great guy, it's how did you work with your kids or your family or your friends? How was that? What's that end game?
Yep.
So
I do think though in people's career, especially your career, even your dad, I mean, work is kind of the box you're in, but the impact you can make on certain people, like some of the interviews that you have to the people in Jamaica, like they're definitely at that moment vulnerable and you're asking some really hard questions. So even though it is work, not necessarily people lining up to come to your funeral, but you will impact people throughout your career and that will be the legacy that you leave and you may help that person in that moment or help them. If you talk to people about journalism like you do to college students, like you're impacting people professionally, if you'd like it or not. Yes, and you're going to change them. But yeah, I agree with you. Friends and family at the end of the day is who you're going to show up for. But along what you do every day, we can impact one another if you want to, if people want to be that intentional.
absolutely. And the thing is, you have to be careful with that too. I
Yep.
mean, because if a person is given a responsibility to, talk to someone on the worst day of their life, their vulnerability, especially if you're doing it on television or social media, you really have a lot of weight on your shoulders to be respectful to what the person is going through, but also to understand that not everything is about a soundbite.
Yep.
Let it roll. Let people see
Hmm.
what is actually
Yep.
unfolding. And then, by the way, all of this that we're talking about, I think, goes back to humanity.
Yep.
How do we interact with each other and the importance of all that and making sure that not everything is transactional, right? I mean, everything these days, I mean, you have an iPhone with a little barcode transaction,
Yep.
boom, in a heartbeat. You don't even know what you're spending. And then next thing you know, you're, $1,000 in debt because, oh, the
Yep.
barcode says I could do this.
Yep.
So the transactional nature of our society, as far as business and even relationships go, has really got
Yep.
to be understood better. And that's something I tell my daughters all the time. I mean, you're living in a world where you are quite literally influenced by what others are doing on your phone. And, okay, that's fine. You can go through that and you can, hopefully pick out the positive things. But ultimately, it's you that need to be your own influencer and not be looking at somebody else out there who's, you know, wearing a skirt that's non-existent or doing drugs on social media or whatever. That's not what's going to further your development as a young person, boy, female or male.
Yep. But okay, how do you do that though? I mean, that's all kids know. They just know their phone. So you can
Yeah.
tell them like, hey, don't just focus on what's your phone. You can tell them here's some other things you can do, but it's continuous. like what they're around and the people they're around. How do we I don't think it's up to us, but how do we educate them to see it differently and to expose them to more? Because this is all they know.
Yeah. No, you're right. I think you need to put them in real world situations that often are uncomfortable.
Mhm.
And there's a fear factor, perhaps.
Mhm.
Sorry. I
No,
mean,
I agree.
failure
Yep.
and fear are motivators. And I'm not saying, you haze a kid out of social
Yep.
media or something like,
Yep.
no, but you want to expose them to things that are going on that are real and meaningful. One thing that, I'm going back to Jamaica at the end of May, and I said to my daughters in college, I go, you should come with me
Mhm.
because I need you to see in person the eyes of people,
Mhm.
and I need you to feel it.
Mhm.
And she's like, "Well, okay, maybe I can." I'm like, "No, no, you should. It'll give you perspective." So I think it's giving opportunity like that, you know?
Yeah, instead of a parent taking a kid on a nice vacation, maybe do something different and show them, a different world, a different way of living, people suffering. Doesn't have to I think a lot of parents are actually doing too much of protecting of their kids. Like it's never going to be perfect all the time. And if you shelter them high school and college, when they get to something significant in life, they're not going to know how to deal with the problem and they're not growing. To your point, you have to be uncomfortable, you have to have fear, you have to deal to overcome these significant life lessons.
Mhm.
Otherwise, you're going to have the simplest thing that's going to just take you out sometime in your when you're 30 or 25 or whatever. I think parents should do. I agree with you 100%. Put your kids in uncomfortable situations. Let them see something different than a beautiful five-star hotel.
Yeah. Oh my god. And I am at fault for that so bad.
Well,
I
that's your vacation because that's what you do on your
well,
day job. That's a hard balance for you.
I know it is and that's the thing. There's so many times where I'm on assignment and I'm sitting there and it's like 2 in the morning, okay, and I'm waiting to
Uh-huh.
do live reports, and I mean, all hell's breaking loose around me, whether it be a hurricane or a tornado or a blizzard. And I'm freezing and I'm like, God, I wish I had coffee. This sucks. Everything sucks right now. And I'm always thinking to myself, I wish like this daughter was with me or this daughter
Mm,
to experience like the fact that this is not fun. This is not comfortable. And none of this is like what you think it is, and that's the thing. I mean, no matter what they do end up doing for a living, eh, everything that people have in their heads as young people, almost none of it is real.
yeah.
None of it comes to the fruition that they believe is the reality of it all. I mean, again, I go back to my. Sorry, I'm sniffling a little bit.
No,
I, I,
all
I got
good.
I got a cold in the past week, so crazy.
It's because you're at
But
home. That's why you're not traveling.
yeah, I know. I know. I think I got it. I was in Hawaii on assignment a few weeks ago. I think I got it there. But I mean, I guess what I'm saying is this. There's another thing that I always tell them too. No matter how hard something is, and whether it be sports or friends or teenage drama, there's an end to everything. And
Mhm.
I tell young producers this out in the field as well. Like when we're going through it and they're like, oh my God, I don't think I can handle this anymore. I don't think I'm afraid. I'm freezing. I'm exhausted. I don't think I can do this anymore. I'm like, there's an end.
Mhm.
You don't know when that end is yet, but there's an end.
Mhm.
Keep that front and center. And
Yeah.
that's the mentality. And by the way, that is a very military mentality as well. You're going in on a mission, no matter what you're doing in life. And at some point, that mission is going to
Yep.
end.
Yep.
Okay. Whether or not it ends with a very bad outcome or a very strong outcome or somewhere in the middle, neutral gray area, we don't know. But if you prepared correctly for that mission, odds are you're
Yep.
you're going to come out feeling pretty good about most of it. Except for this, always remember the keyword's most of it, because you're never going to be fully satisfied. And if you
Yep.
are, you're probably not very good at what you do.
Or it's too comfortable.
Yeah, or it's too comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And by the way, sports
Mm.
is key to teaching young people how to understand what failure is. Because
Mm,
when you think about sports, it doesn't matter what sport you're in, sports is made for failure.
yep.
Most people don't win at sports. Somebody always walks away as the loser, whether it's
Yeah.
a tennis match or golf or football, baseball, softball, basketball. Somebody's walking away a loser. So think about that.
Yeah. And that's okay, right? Because you learned from that. That's okay.
Yes.
So maybe to wrap it up with a couple last questions, having four daughters, do you feel that you've changed as a man from before you've ever had them? Have they changed you?
Oh, yes. And so in so many complex ways that it would it I someday will probably have to probably acknowledge it on paper, but it is the complexity of being a father of four females is not anything that I ever expected. I thought it was just going to be, oh, whatever. Aren't they cute? Aren't they cute little girls and all this? Oh no, no, they're the changes that occur on a continuum every single year. There is a massive change within my daughters. All four of them. I mean, from the 4-year old
Yep.
all the way to the 19-year old. And like, for example, like I look at this, my sensitivity when I was a younger man, I was a lot more brutal, and not in a good way. I don't think that I had a listening cap on with them.
Mm,
I think that there were times where I just sort of uh, brushed them aside as girls and little girls, and oh, you know what, whatever. They're just going to do cute things.
mhm.
What I didn't realize, and over as time evolved, because I didn't grow up with sisters, is that young women are absolutely fierce and actually are the protectors of society, and women are in general. I mean, can you imagine if we took all the males that run the world out of these positions and put females in? And by the way, not all females are great, but I think we'd have a much calmer world, a much
Yeah.
calmer society, cooler heads. I mean, men are pouncers. I mean, we are just we react in such ridiculous, diabolical, violent ways, and we cause chaos. Okay, and I'm not saying that we can change that because I don't think we can. This has been going on for millions of years.
Yep.
We're protectors as well, but on the other hand, females, again, to my point about working with female executives, the thought process is more clear.
Mhm.
You know where you stand a little bit more,
Yep.
and young girls will let you know where you stand. Hey dad, like, hey dad, no, this is what's going on, or this is what is going on and I don't want you to know about. I mean, I'm going through that right now with one of my daughters. She is just not wanting to tell me something. And I think I know what it is, but I'm not going to push it
Right. And
because
she's ready.
yeah, because in the past I would push it, and I'd go to her room. I'd be like, "Hey, are you serious?" And I'd get mad, like, "Come on, like this is bull." Now I know. I'm just gonna stay away. Just gonna stay away. And my wife will tell me the same thing, like, just stay out of it. Stay out of it. She'll come to you when she
Yep.
needs
She's
you on
ready.
this.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's the thing that I didn't realize as a young man. And now with our almost 4-year old, gosh, there's things that I think I'm doing that are so different than what I was doing with the other girls. I appreciate more of little things that I'm seeing with her than when I was just, running around with like my head cut off when I was in my early 30s, trying to figure out what it is to even be a dad. Right. I mean, being a dad is not just about taking your daughter to Disney World. Sometimes I would get wrapped up in that process. Oh, let's take him on a good vacation. That'll be good.
Yep.
Yeah, it is. But what are you doing on the side of that?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, what kind
Yeah.
of counseling are you giving them after a track meet when things go wrong or whatever, swimming or whatever they're in, softball, you name it. And I think what I love most about like, my oldest right now, my 19-year-old who's at Georgia, is she'll call me now and just for the hell of it, like just
Go.
to start talking, like and she'll call me and she'll be like, like out with her friends, hey dad, like like I feel like cool, like I'm like, oh, shit.
You're in.
Yeah, like she actually thinks I'm okay now. Like I'm not just some annoying dude. So
That's awesome.
that's really exciting for me. It
Yeah,
really is.
I always say to my friends, like, I'll never force my kids. They're older too, 22, 19, and soon to be 17, but I never wanna force them to hang out with me. Like, they have their own group of friends. I want them to hang out with me. Like, if they wanna say, "Hey, mom, I'm gonna come with you to Florida over Christmas vacation," cool, come on over, you know?
Yeah.
I don't wanna say, "You're coming with me and you're gonna spend time with me, like it or not." Like, no thanks. Like, you live your life, and when you need me, come to me, and it's the coolest thing when they actually wanna hang out with you. And you made a comment before we started recording was when you were parenting, you weren't signing up to be their friend. You were signing up to be their father and
Yeah.
guide them along the way. But there is a point a little bit when they get older. I feel it now with my 22-year-old. Like you feel a little bit because you've kind of done the job. You're still doing the job always, but there's a point where it's a little bit of a hybrid approach. Like they're your friend and they're your
Yeah.
kid at the same time. And that's a really fun place to be at.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And I'm just beginning that journey, which
Yeah,
I'm like super excited about.
that's fun.
But then again, on the other hand, I've got the 4-year-old. So it's sort of like, I mean, I just I've got to keep myself
Yeah.
vigorous here. Because I want to be there for
Yep.
her,
Yeah.
and when I think about it, like I'm like, oh my God, like she's gonna graduate high school and I'm like 64. Like, holy crap. Like I need to be like the same dude
Yeah.
as I am now.
Good for you.
Um, I hope. I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe modern medicine will, if something bad happens, but you never know. I'll just keep trying to do my best, right? I mean,
Yeah.
like with
That's what
my
you can do every day.
oldest, yeah. I mean, like my oldest, she ran a marathon a month ago. I signed up for the marathon with no training. And in my 30s, I was just running like tons of marathons. So I'm like, oh yeah, I got this. I could do this freaking marathon, no training. So I get out there and I finally I get to like mile 9. I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna do the half marathon. There's no way I'm making it through the full.
Yeah.
But you know what? I did it with at least we did it together. Like
Yeah.
we started the race together. So it's things like that. That I mean, I do think that doing adventure
Yep.
and things that push you with your kids is
Yep.
important. Like we did the Grand Canyon a couple years ago from the ridge to the river hike. I almost, freaking died. I did that with my two oldest daughters. And
Mhm.
they'll never forget that, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
That's the key to
Mhm.
do things together.
Mhm.
And you also get to know each other through situations like that outside of like the dinner table
Yep.
or when you're going through something and you're pushing each other like something physical like that, you do learn a lot about who you are. And I think those are things that last forever and translate into all of life as well.
Yep. Agreed. All right, last question, and we'll wrap it up. So, advice if your daughters are listening, and they're going to be listening once this airs. So, advice that you'd give your daughters, females, males, younger generation, just overall life lessons. Kind of, you've integrated so many throughout the conversation, but what advice are you giving someone probably graduating college, going into the workforce? What would you say to them?
I think you need to have realistic expectations. Understand that you are very, very young, that your brain is not fully complete, by the way, that your decision making process is still likely very emotional and personal. And that will never change, but you will learn how to deal with all of those emotions as you become older. And when you go into the workforce out of what is supposed to prepare you for the workforce, also understand this: college is also meant to grow you as a person. And when you get out, no matter what, no matter whether you're studying something technical like medicine or engineering, you're still going to be learning so significantly on the job and whatever your profession is for so long. And the word grind should
Mm,
never leave your head ever, because all of this is a grind. And you're going to have a hard time right away understanding that you need to be at this job at this time, and you're going to leave this job at this time. And throughout that period, you're going to meet people that are just miserable at their jobs, that have been there a long time. And they're going to drink the coffee and be like, oh, welcome to hell, things like that. Don't get infiltrated by negativity and always understand that that path, and look, I don't want to be cliche here, but that path that you're on can pivot and can go other ways. You need to understand that what you've chosen to do immediately out of college, maybe, maybe is not what you're going to be doing and you're destined to do. But everything that you've learned, you bring it with you in a backpack, and you just kind of, and I mean that, metaphorically, and you have to understand that if there's opportunity out there that seems like it might not be what you signed up for or studied for, or maybe seems scary, that's usually the kind of opportunity that you need to really consider and say to yourself, okay, all right, you know what? I'm going to go out of my box and I'm
Mhm.
going to get uncomfortable.
Yep.
And I'm going to make sure that everything that I've learned from, professors, family, friends, coworkers is right there. And make sure that you also understand who you can trust. That is such a key thing. This social media world, people just think they can put whatever they want out there. And we've all made the mistakes. And you have to hone that in. Don't make a mistake on social media. Don't get stupid because God, HR is watching. Everybody's watching at the
Everything.
company, So be very, very meticulous and careful. And again, careful who you trust. And I'm not saying that you walk around like head on a swivel, like, oh my God, like everybody's terrible. But just be cautious
Yep.
and be innovative and creative and smart. It doesn't matter what industry you're in. Everybody, no matter what industry you're in, is looking for
Yep.
innovators. But always remember there's a way to approach the decision makers with your ideas, and make sure that your ideas are well thought out, and that that road that you want to present an executive or a decision maker or a leader with, make sure that you have that really prepared and well thought out, and don't just throw like spitballs at the wall.
Yep.
That's for an advertising agency is trying to come up with a campaign. That doesn't happen in the real world. So be ready to pivot, be ready to have toughness, get your perspective going. And you know what else? Be nice, be kind, be
Gosh.
kind. There's so many jerk offs out there. And by the way, they're all hacks.
Yep.
The people that are total jerks are hacks. They don't know what they're doing. And so what they've assembled around
Right.
them is this like jerk off mentality. And just
Yeah.
just stay away from them.
Love
Be a
it.
good person.
Well, I
Yeah.
think, Robert, as my first male interviewee, I think you killed it. So we're gonna have to interview some more males moving forward. No,
Yeah.
this was inspiring. I mean, I even not just catering to the younger generation, like I still learn so much as I have these conversations. So thank you for making the time out of your very busy schedule, traveling to different places. So hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, I had a great time. It was good catching up with you as well.
Yeah,
I mean,
likewise.
a strange way to talk with an old friend, but
Exactly.
very rewarding. And you know what? A little trick for anybody else coming out too. Nobody could tell if you got whiskey in a coffee mug at a meeting. So no, I'm
And by the way,
kidding.
this was recorded at
Totally
11
kidding.
a.m. Eastern for the record, in case he did have whiskey in the coffee cup.
I'm only kidding. My God.
So this is Christine Hummel, Route to Rising, with my special guest and friend, Robert Ray. Thanks again for joining.
Thank you. Appreciate it.